Right now, you're reading these words, and your brain is doing something so automatic you never notice it. Sound or symbols turning instantly into meaning. But for most of human history, that didn't exist. No words, no grammar, no way to say tomorrow, or I'm sorry, or watch out.
So how did two humans standing face to face 500,000 years ago tell each other anything at all? The answer isn't silence. It's stranger than that.
Let's start with what your body already knows how to do without being taught. In 2005, psychologist Susan Golden Meadow at the University of Chicago studied something remarkable. Deaf children born to hearing parents who never learned any sign language. These children received no language input at all. No spoken words they could hear, no signs anyone taught them. And yet, every single one of them invented a communication system on their own. Golden Meadow called it Homesign. The children pointed, they mimed actions, they built consistent gestures for objects, for requests, for entire ideas, without anyone showing them how. Their hands did what language does, using nothing but the instinct sitting inside a human brain.
But the more extraordinary case happened decades earlier, and by accident. In the 1970s and 80s, Nicaragua opened its first schools for deaf children. Before this, deaf children across the country had grown up isolated, each with their own private home sign, unable to talk to each other. Then, for the first time, hundreds of them were placed in classrooms together.
The teachers tried to teach them Spanish using lip reading. It failed completely. But something else happened in the schoolyard. The children began comparing their private gesture systems. Within a single generation, those scattered home signs fused into something new, a real structured language, with consistent grammar and rules nobody had designed.
Linguists now call it Nicaraguan Sign Language, and it is one of the only times in recorded history that scientists have watched a language being born from nothing in real time, inside a single human lifespan.
This is the clue that changes everything. Before spoken words, the human body was already fluent. So what would communication have looked like 500,000 years ago, before any spoken language existed? Anthropologists believe the answer starts with gesture, not sound.
The theory is called gesture first, and it's built on a simple observation. The parts of the brain that control fine hand movement sit right next to the regions that eventually became responsible for language, in an area called Broca's region. In apes, this same area activates when they use gestures to communicate with each other. Chimpanzees and bonobos use dozens of distinct hand and arm signals in the wild, reaching, tapping, beckoning, each with a specific meaning understood by the group.
Primatologist Franz de Waal has documented that a chimpanzee's gestural vocabulary can include signals for follow me, give me that, and let's play, used deliberately, aimed at a specific individual, and adjusted depending on whether that individual is even looking. That last part matters enormously. It means the signal isn't reflexive. It's intentional communication, aimed at a mind other than your own.
Early humans almost certainly had all of this, plus more. Add fire, add tool use, add cooperative hunting, and you have a species under enormous pressure to coordinate, silently, precisely, often at a distance, often where a shout would scare off the prey you were trying to kill.
Picture it. A hunting party moving through tall grass, spread 20 feet apart. One hunter spots movement. He can't yell, so he freezes and taps his own arm twice. Down the line, hands echo the same signal without a sound. Everyone stops. This is not fiction. Modern hunter-gatherer groups, including the San and the Kalahari, and indigenous Australian hunting parties, still use elaborate silent hand signal systems during hunts today. Systems anthropologists have documented as containing dozens of specific, repeatable signs.
Here's what's easy to miss. This isn't a broken or lesser form of language. It's a fully separate, complete channel, one your species never abandoned. You're still using it right now. Every time you talk, your hands move without you telling them to. Researchers estimate that people gesture in nearly all natural conversation, across every culture on Earth, including in populations that have been congenitally blind since birth and have never once seen another person gesture. Blind speakers gesture at nearly the same rate as sighted ones, even when talking to another blind person who cannot see them do it.
That single fact should stop you. If gesture were merely decoration, something copied from watching other people move their hands, blind people would have no reason to do it. But they do it anyway, automatically, because the impulse isn't learned from watching. It's older than watching. It's older than speech.
So somewhere, at some point, our species crossed a line no one witnessed, and no fossil can date precisely.
Hands and faces stopped being the whole conversation, and sound started carrying part of the weight. Most linguists estimate this shift happened gradually, somewhere between 500,000 and 100,000 years ago, tangled up with changes in the human throat, the descent of the larynx, and the fine motor control needed to shape distinct sounds. There was no single day it happened, just like there was no single day fire began, or the first storyteller sat down at a campfire. It was a slope, not a cliff.
And yet the old system never disappeared. It's still sitting underneath everything you say. Cover someone's hands during a conversation, and studies show their speech becomes measurably less fluent. People search for words longer and pause more, as if some part of their thinking runs through their hands, not just their mouth. For a species that spent most of its history without a single spoken word, this makes sense. Long before there was a name for anything, there was still a person standing in front of you, watching your hands, waiting to understand. We think of language as words, but maybe words were never the beginning. Maybe they were just the last thing that showed up, layered on top of something far older, a silent physical fluency your body has never forgotten how to speak.